Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. Memoir of My Banking Journey by Mr. V.H. Ramakrishnan, retired General Manager of Bank of India. Episode number 7. The chapter Nigerian Experiences is continuing. The link of earlier episode is available in the description. Nigerian Experiences. The Rise and Fall of Allied Bank of Nigeria. Many of you should be wondering what happened to the bank about which I have written so much. It is an interesting story but with a sad end. Bank of India used to open its foreign branches based on its connection with the ethnic community. Wherever Gujaratis and Sindhis were there, Bank of India used to open branches. That is how the branches in London, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore, Kenya, etc. were opened. When the bank found that Sindhis who were dealing with our bank in London and Hong Kong were doing a lot of business with Nigeria, it decided to open a branch in Lagos. It was opened as a branch of Bank of India. The branch was doing very well. Many of the Indian origin businessmen belonging to Sindhi, Gujarati, and Marwari community opened their accounts with us. In the 60s and 70s, selection of officers for foreign postings were based on personal knowledge of the officer by the top executives. Bank was small and it was easy to identify the best officers. BOI maintained its professional approach and earned a good reputation. Slowly, good Nigerian businessmen who had dealings with India also started to operate with us. After a few years, the Nigerian government brought a regulation that the branches of foreign banks should be converted into a subsidiary with local shareholding. That means it should not be 100% owned by Bank of India. Our top executives came down and persuaded the local businessmen, mainly the Sindhi community, to take shares in the bank. The customers were happy to do so as the bank was doing very well. So the name was changed into Bank of India, Nigeria Limited. This went on for a few years. Then the government suddenly brought a law by which they partially nationalized the foreign banks. They said majority shareholding will with the government of Nigeria. They wanted 51% shareholding. The staff were allowed to hold 9%. Now Bank of India had a problem. Already there were many individual shareholders. After surrendering 60%, BOI had only a small shareholding. Once again, an executive, if I remember correct, Mr. B.V. Sonalkar, landed as the troubleshooter. He convened a meeting of all shareholders and persuaded them to transfer their shares back to Bank of India. The businessman had a lot of hesitation as they were enjoying good dividends. But after a little bit of arm twisting, they agreed and transferred all the shares, and Bank of India ended up with 40% shareholding. The name of the bank was also changed to Allied Bank of Nigeria Limited. It was decided by the government that the managing director will be a Nigerian nominated by it. There would be two executive directors, one would be nominated by the Nigerian government and one by Bank of India. The last managing director from Bank of India was Mr. Sheikh Ali, a very well reputed and nice officer. He was earlier in Bombay office. He later joined Shilarams in London. Mr. Sheikh Ali handed over charge to Mr. Bello. As I had mentioned earlier, we were lucky to have Mr. Bello as the MD. In the late 70s and early 80s, collection bills was the major business. Foreign exchange was available in plenty and the exporters sent goods under collection bills. I was told by London branch that this was their main business. Later on, the foreign exchange position deteriorated and bills remained unpaid and the refinance exercise was done for the collection bills. From 1983 onwards, it was on the LC basis. Still, opening an LC was no guarantee for payment, so the LC will be confirmed by a prime bank in London or New York. They used to collect confirmation charges of about 1%. The confirming bank will pay the money to the exporter to the debit of the account of Allied Bank of Nigeria. The debit will be cleared as and when we used to get forex released from Central Bank of Nigeria. One day, a customer who was a well wisher from the bank told me that our confirmation charges are quite low compared with some of the foreign banks. He added that he does not mind paying a higher confirmation charges so that Bank of India will get the benefit. I'm narrating this to show the goodwill we had in that country. I sounded a few customers on the subject and they all agreed. I have to clarify that most of the bills were in house bills. I then advised our foreign branches to increase the confirmation charges to 3%. One of the good initiatives taken by Mr. Bello during my tenure was to build a head office building. The tenders were quoted and approved in a very transparent manner. The cost was about $50 million. It was decided to have 14 floors. Mr. Bello was felt since Bank of India head office was on the 14th floor of Express Towers, we should also have 14 floors. The construction started during my time, but I came back to India as my tenure was over. I came to know later that the head office moved into the new building. Sometime in my early 90s, Mr. Bello was posted as managing director of Nigerian Mint and a new MD was appointed. He had grand plans. He prepared a Vision 2000 document and wanted to increase the capital with a rights issue. He came to Mumbai and made a presentation to Bank of India. The bank, in its own wisdom, refused to subscribe to the rights issue. Allied Bank went ahead with the issue. It finally resulted in our bank's shareholding percentage coming down. We lost the position of executive director and thereby the control, and only one officer was on deputation. Even he returned in 1997. I do not know the full details of the problems which brought down the bank. I heard that three or four branches did some reckless fraudulent lending and hid it by raising debit notes among themselves, circular trail. This came out when adverse clearing resulted in drying the liquidity of the bank. Ultimately, the bank suffered huge losses, and in 1998 it went under liquidation. It sometimes makes me sad to think that a 45 years old organization is brought down by three or four persons within a short time. Of course, Bering's Bank was brought down by a single person. Some of the Sindhi businessmen suggested to me when they called on me in Mumbai that Bank of India should return to Nigeria and open a branch again. But the capital requirements were high. I once suggested to the Bank of India chairman after my retirement that he should join hands with Bank of Baroda and open a branch. I was sure all the customers would come back to the bank. However, this did not happen. Tailpiece. When I returned to India in 1989, I was posted to BOI Finance Limited. I was an AGM at that time. One of the GMs once asked me bluntly how much did I save. It was a personal question. I told him not much. I also told him about how HO was also compensating us. He would not leave me. This GM had continuous foreign postings in Hong Kong, Tokyo, and New York, spent almost about 12 years abroad. After a few days, he again asked me the same question. I told him that what I saved was much lower than what he had saved from his plum postings. He immediately said those days we could not save much. But thereafter, he never asked me that question. Potpourri, Sleeping Beauty. Common Nigerians were blessed with an ability to sleep at any time, anywhere, in any position, and at any place. My driver Joseph was a master in this art. He will drop me for dinner and park the car, and within a few seconds he will be in peaceful sleep. But when I walk towards the car after the dinner, I need not even call his name. By hearing my footsteps, he will wake up with an alert and start the car. Once, Sheikh Ali, during a visit, taught me a trick. He said, always ask the driver to get down from the car and open the door for you. Thus, you will ensure that he becomes fully awake. All the clerks in the bank had to travel long distances by public conveyance. Since they have to report at 7:30, they have to get up very early. So invariably, if they reach the office by say 7:15, they would put their head on the table and sleep. But sharp 7:30, they will wake up as if they had heard an alarm and start the work. Whenever people wait to see someone, they used to go to sleep. I have noticed many times visitors sleeping with both legs on the sofa while waiting to be called by Mr. Bello. These people would have come from his village and without any appointment. He would see everybody. They would never mind sitting for hours. Of course, all courtesies will be extended to him. Once I was surprised to see people dozing off while waiting to meet the governor of central bank. Keep the radio on. Whenever I visited a government official, including DY governor of central bank, I found that they used to keep the radio on even when they are working. I was told that it is to know immediately whether any military coup has taken place. Of course, in India, all the bank chairmen keep the business TV on. Military coups. When I landed in Nigeria in 1984, the military rule was in force. General Muhammad Buhari was the military ruler. He had overthrown the civilian regime in December 1983. Buhari has now become the president in a democratic election. In 1985, Buhari was overthrown by Ibrahim Babangida. All these coups were called palace coups, no bloodshed or commotion. I had witnessed a violent attempt to overthrow President Moi in Kenya. The coup attempt failed, but all shops were looted. Indian origin businessmen suffered a lot. I shall write about that when I cover my Kenyan experiences. Keep running for boarding. A few days after I took charge, I wanted to visit a branch in the north. There were domestic flights. I booked the tickets and even a boarding card was issued. When I was about to leave the airport, one officer who was with me asked, "Who is going to come with me to the airport?" I said, "Nobody." He was surprised and told me that getting a boarding card is not an assurance for the seat. The airlines overissues the boarding cards. There is no seat allocation. When boarding is announced, you have to run to the aircraft and try to be the first in the queue. So I took my sub staff with me to the airport. Those days there were no security checks. When the boarding was announced, I saw everyone running to the aircraft with their hand luggage. My sub staff also ran, stood fifth in the queue. I walked slowly and took my place and sent him back. I found many Nigerians had runners with them. After a few years, things were streamlined. Until then, I had always taken a runner with me. Expatriate officers in our bank. As I had mentioned earlier, with the devaluation of Naira and the savings potential had come down. Though my colleagues did not complain, I could guess that their spirits were down. I used to tell them that the quality of life in Nigeria is better than that in developed countries like US or UK because of the following factors. First, servant availability. A Nigerian house servant will do all the household work. He or she will clean the house, wash the clothes, iron all the clothes, make up your bed, set the dining table, do the cooking, clean the dishes, polish your shoes, and even clean the toilets. They normally take up only one house. What you pay them is not very high compared to your salary. In India, you will need four different persons to do this job. In US, you cannot afford a servant. You will end up doing all the odd jobs during the weekend. Many of the housewives found a lot of time at their disposal and would go on a shopping spree to buy important dress materials, corals, etc. Second, there was an Indian school following CBSE curriculum. Third, wives of officers could take up job as teacher, no restriction. Fourth, once in 2 years you could go on home leave. No such concept in other centers in those days. Fifth, there was no need to sit and work late in the office. I have seen the officers in New York during that period working late as well as coming to the office on Saturdays also. That was the condition in many foreign centers. However, I asked my colleagues to find out from other banks about the facilities enjoyed by the expatriate officers. Asking for an increase in salary was ruled out. Based on the information collected, I could get the following additional facilities for the officers. First, annual home leave. The officer and his family could travel to India by business class every year. Once in 2 years, they will be given business class fare via Europe. We could also give them an option that within their business class entitlement, they can go by economy via whatever city in the world they want to. They gave our officers an opportunity to see different parts of the world. Second, every officer was given a chauffeur driven car earlier when they were having their own cars. The above changes were magnanimously approved by the MD, Mr. Bello. My officers were very happy. Needless to say, they all did their best for the organization. I'm quoting the above only to point out that the CEO should try his best to make his officers happy within the available constraints. This brings to my mind that the general attitude of officers selected for posting abroad. Initially, they are very happy, but once they know that they are posted to a country in Africa, they feel disappointed. I had to counsel many officers that African postings are no way inferior to postings in Western country. Next, when they land, they start feeling that they are the best officers of the bank. I was surprised to hear such a remark in Kenya from my colleagues. Someone was saying we are the cream. I had to correct him saying that we are all good officers. That does not mean that we are the best. There were many better officers in India who are not lucky to get a foreign postings. We are the lucky ones. Tail piece. Nigerians are very particular about greeting each other. Once an Indian was going by car and looking for a particular road. He stopped the car and asked the passerby, "Do you know how to go to that particular road?" The Nigerian told him, "Greet me first and then ask me." The Indian apologized and asked, "Good morning, my friend. How do I go to that road?" The Nigerian replied, "Good morning, my friend. I don't know." Potpourri continued. Computerization. In the year 1986 itself, Allied Bank started computerizing its operations. You will be surprised to know that the staff union started an agitation as to why the bank has not yet computerized its operations. They were they were very much in favor of computerization. We recruited one computer engineer named Bestman as an AGM in charge of computerization. He was very efficient but was a little arrogant and was not that popular with staff. He was a totally committed person. In those days, NCR, National Cash Register, was a well known company for computerizing banks in Africa. It was based in Dayton, Ohio, US. They were awarded the contract for supplying the hardware and computerizing the operations of the bank. We had adopted batch processing. Core banking was unknown at that time. Before I left in 1989, all our branches were computerized and I had a desktop on my table. Perhaps that is the period Bank of India also started computerizing with access to all the accounts in the bank. My first visit to US and strange experiences. In 1987, NCR was invited to our MD and ED for a 3-day program at Dayton to familiarize the top executives with computerization. Thereafter, I was invited along with Mr. Akpabio, DGM, and head of audit, Mr. Musa. That was my first visit to the US. I was naturally quite excited. I thought I would also utilize the opportunity to visit Bank of India's New York branch, with whom our main operating account was kept. We had a few issues which required personal discussions. So I got permission from Mr. Bello to visit New York branch and also took few days leave to visit Niagara Falls, Disney World, Orlando, and Washington. After my program at Dayton was over, I reached New York. I was booked in Taj Lexington, which was opposite to our New York branch. At that time, Mr. D.D. Avadi, which was the chief executive, and Mr. P.S. Shenoy, who later became the CMD of Bank of Baroda, was the vice president operations. I knew Shenoy since 1968 when he was at the Kunur branch, his first posting. Mr. Nagesh Paida, who later became CMD of Oriental Bank of Commerce, whom I knew from my Chennai days, was another officer at the branch. After a stay of 2 or 3 days at New York, I was to catch a flight to Buffalo, Niagara Falls on the Saturday morning. From Lagos itself, I had arranged with Chennai to book hotel accommodation and flight tickets to Buffalo, Florida, and Washington. I recollect there was some special package available. Around 6:30 on Saturday morning, I went down to the lobby of Taj Lexington to check out. To my surprise, the cashier asked me to pay the hotel bill. I told him that the booking was done by Bank of India. He said that BOI only asked him to book a room but did not say anything about payment. I told him that it is implied that they would pay. He called his manager, an American gentleman. He also repeated the same thing. I told him I would request Mr. Shenoy to talk to him. He was quite rude and said that I should not waste his time by asking someone to talk to him. He refused me the use of phone at the counter. Then I found a public phone at the lounge and woke up Shinoy and told him about my predicament. Shinoy said I should not worry and that he will speak to the manager. He called up the manager and the manager first shouted at me that he already had told me not to call anyone. Then after talking to Shinoy, he gave the phone to me. Shinoy told me that the manager is not willing to accept oral assurance. He then advised me that I should pay the bill since I had cash assured me that he would go to ATM of Chemical Bank and draw $500 and would meet me at the airport and hand over the cash. I did not have any credit card. If I pay the hotel bill, then I would have been left with less than $60, which would be just enough to meet the taxi fare at New York and Buffalo. I had no choice. I paid the bill and rushed to the airport. Those days, there were no security at the airports. I reached the boarding gate and was anxiously waiting for Shenoy. There was no sign of Shenoy. At the gate, my name was announced and I had no other alternative but to go inside the aircraft. I landed in Buffalo and from the airport, I managed to go to the hotel where I was booked. Immediately, I booked a call to Shinoy. He had told me how to collect a call. He had told me how to book a collect call. He informed me that by the time he reached the airport, the flight had left. He said that he already remitted $500 by Western Union to Florida and gave the remittance number. He explained to me that if I go to the office of Western Union and show my passport and give the number, they would pay me $500. That was the first time I heard about the Western Union and their funds transfer system. Next day, I took the flight and landed in Florida in the morning, almost penniless, and checked at the Holiday Inn where I had a room already reserved and paid for. The only good thing that happened in the morning was the complimentary breakfast. I had never seen such a variety of breakfast items. There were more than 50 types of bakery items. After my sumptuous breakfast, I took a taxi to go to Disney World. I gave the driver the address of the Western Union office given by Shenoy. I told the driver that unless I get the money, I could not pay him. He was very friendly and heartily laughed. He took me to a grocery store. I told the driver that I have to go to the Western Union branch. He said that this store is the agent for WU. I never knew that about this concept of business correspondent in those days. With my doubt in my mind, I went to the shop and gave the passport and remittance number. The owner said he got the message, but he does not have that much cash. My heart sank. He said that he can only give a check for $500 and I should go to the bank and collect the cash. My heart sank for the second time. I told him that it was a Sunday. Then he said I should go to the bank and they would pay me the cash till 12 noon, even though it was a Sunday. I came out and told the driver. He was still smiling and took me to the bank. It was closed. For the third time, my heart sank. Then the driver showed me on the side of the bank what it looked like big post office letter box. He told me to put the check and my passport into the box. He said it would go through a chute inside the bank. Praying to all gods, I did as advised by him and kept my fingers crossed. After 5 minutes, I heard a voice saying, "Collect your cash and passport." What a relief! I collected the cash and was quite liberal in giving tips to the driver, who was of great help. At Disney World, I found many people looking at me with a strange look. I realized a little later that I was the only person amongst thousands of people wearing a formal dress, a full sleeve shirt, and trousers. Everyone else was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. That evening, after coming back to the hotel, I saw a shop in the lounge bought my first t-shirt. Postscript: after returning to Lagos, the first thing I did was to apply for a credit card with Barclays London. They issued me a card with a limit of £750. Shinoy told me later that the general manager of the hotel apologized and for the inconvenience and embarrassment caused to me and the bank. I had to again go to New York after 2 years of official work. This time Mr. Babu Venkatachalam, he later required as the DGM Information Technology Department, was the Vice President Operations. I told him the old story and he laughed in his typical style and assured me that nothing will happen. I was not satisfied. I went to the hotel and checked up with them. Again they said bank has not mentioned anything about payment and I have to pay the bill. So I went back to Babu and insisted on another letter confirming that they would make the payment. Tailpiece: in the night at Holiday Inn, I went to the dining room and ordered a veg pizza, which was quite cheap. After 20 minutes, I saw a waiter carrying a circular dish with a radius of about 8 inches. I was wondering who has ordered this huge dish. To my utter surprise, the waiter placed it before me and said, "Enjoy your pizza." With great difficulty, I consumed one-fifth of the pizza and left the dining room with a feeling of leaving behind a good friend. The episode Nigerian Experiences is continuing. Thank you very much for your patience. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel.